fees don't make the school. The building doesn't make the school. They should interact with the teachers. The teachers are very important. Yes, I think schools are killing that creativity. Observe people. Find role models that you observe. Look at how they respond to situations. Right? And read a lot. Anybody wanting to start an NGO, they have to come with that resolve that they will have to continue to beg for money all the lives. Even through children, 6-7-year-old kids, you can change a society.
Yelrigu Namaskara. Welcome back to Real Celebrity Podcast, powered by C. Krishna Chetty Group of Jewelers. These are stories of women who made it. Extraordinary stories of real life celebrities. Today we have someone incredibly special who's done so much of good work in the service sector. So we have Mrs. Shukla Bose, who is the founder and CEO of Parikrama Humanity Foundation. So let's welcome Shukla Bose, madam. Hello, ma'am. Welcome to Real Celebrity Podcast. It's such an honor to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, ma'am. There's so much of work that you have done. I was reading about you, and my team has done quite a lot of research. And what we realized is, among us, we have such incredible women and who've been doing such amazing work. Something beyond themselves, thinking beyond themselves and doing something for the mankind. And really, really proud to be sitting beside you and having this conversation.
Don't put me on a pedestal anyway, Spoorthi. I mean,
it's what it is.
I do what needs to be done. I do because I have to. It's nothing special, nothing extraordinary, to be honest.
Yeah.
And whatever we have managed to do, we've done because of a team. I have a very good team that supports me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Parikrama has 4 schools and 1 college. And it started in 2003. You've been running this foundation from 20 long years, unshakable. So what are the numbers that you've been able to do, and what's the kind of results that you've been able to generate through Parikrama?
When I started Parikrama 20 years ago, I have to go back to that. I had actually started from my kitchen table with my own personal savings because I didn't want to go to anyone to ask for funds till I had something to prove and something to show. So it goes back there, right? So, but I was very, very fortunate that I was able to appeal to and inspire really good people to join hands with me, and they have been with me all these 20 years. So I have 4 schools: a school in Koramangala, in Jayanagar, in Nandini Layout, in Sahakar Nagar, and I have a junior college. These are for kids who most probably would not have gone to school. They are from the slums, streets and orphanages of Bangalore. They are first generation learners. Nobody in their families actually completed school, even if they've gone to school. Most of my fathers are alcoholics. 98% of my fathers are alcoholics. 92% of my children have someone in their family in jail. So we are not only talking about poverty, deprivation, we are also talking about dysfunctionality. These are these kids that come to my school. So we try and give them a safe place, a happy place to be in, a place where they feel comfortable, which helps in their self-esteem. And it's because of this effort that we have made to increase their self-esteem that they have really crossed all boundaries. I have many software engineers who have graduated from Parikrama. We supported their computer engineering education. Some of them have gone to the best colleges. I have a student who's graduated from National Law School. And these colleges are not easy to get admissions. And they managed not only to get admissions, but even achieve scholarships with their results. And so I have software engineers in multinational companies like Cisco, Accenture, Infosys. I have lawyers, managing entertainment in Royal Caribbean cruise.
Wow.
And I have students who are really well-known master of ceremonies and into event management. I have entrepreneurs. For instance, when I go to my dentist, somebody who's looking after my teeth is my student. What a pleasant surprise. And I would happily give myself up to my students' skill. That's the kind of confidence
I can
have.
see that happiness right now also. The moment you see your kid being the dentist. Wow.
I love my children. I love my children.
So how many kids have studied in
We have
Parikrma?
we have about 1,700 alumni. We have a very robust alumni association. They keep coming and contributing to Parikrama. At the moment, we are supporting 2,000 children. So the family is growing, but it's not just the children. We also support their families, not financially, but we support their families as far as healthcare is concerned. We skill training. Most of our mothers are maids. We have skilled them. They are now become beauticians. One mother has opened a beauty parlor, 2 beauty parlors inside the slums. They are also becoming entrepreneurs.
Lovely.
So we do digital skills, we do spoken English classes, financial literacy for the parents as well.
I have seen this in TED that before actually starting Parikrama, you did a lot of groundwork, personally went into a lot of slums, read their lifestyle. Can you tell me about that phase and journey?
In 2003, when I began Parikrama, there were 850 slums. I walked through about 333 slums. I gave up my Bali shoes and pure cotton suits and wore khadi and Bata Hawaii chappals because it was so important to integrate with the environment. One of my colleagues who is still with me and very important role player in Parikrama, she and I and a social worker, we walked through the slums, 333 slums, identifying where the need was high and where we needed to have a school. We knocked on doors and asked people to send their children to our school. There was no building. We would meet our parents under a tree on the temple yard or a mosque or a church. But I think they could see that we were very sincere and genuine, and they believed us. And we began with 165 children. And after that, there's been no stopping. I mean, every year.
And that was also in a building in a slum.
Yeah, the first school was on a rooftop in the slum. At that time, I had said, it should be the Parikrama school should be inspirational and aspirational. It should be inside the slums. And we could only afford a rooftop, of which half the shed, tin roof shed. And we managed there for some time. But I realized that if you want to be inspirational and aspirational, you've got to move a little away from the slums. Because at night, our space could have got used by antisocial elements, which would have not been a good thing to do. So we started moving away from the slums, but within walking distance of the slums. So those are certain lessons learned. The first time, and one of the things is, we give all 3 meals in the school, right? We give them a breakfast, we give them lunch, and we give them a glass of malt and snacks, because many of my kids don't get anything to eat when they go back home. I remember the first time when we were serving sambar rice for lunch, the kids had never seen so much of rice and so much of sambar in their lives. And it was so difficult to contain. You saw there was a news item where a child fell into sambar and boiling sambar and got burnt. I know that can be a reality because these kids were so hungry that they couldn't wait for to stand in a line. And so the first equipment we bought was a microphone with those real mics that you use in streets to tell children there's enough food, don't worry. And so then we had to, our children had lots of lice in their hair and scabies in their skin, so we had to have bath days, oil their hair with neem oil and bathe them. But even bathing them was not like taking away their dignity. It's not telling them you're dirty and therefore you have to be clean. It was like picnic, and we would get tankers with water and we would douse each other with water, and the kids had great fun, but we got them clean. So those were some of the things. And many of my teammates and colleagues of my past life in the corporate life couldn't believe that I was doing all this. But I loved
Looks crazy and
it was
sounds
crazy, and it was like I had been demoted, right? But no, in my mind, I was doing things that I loved, and I felt so empowered.
How did you come up with this thought? Because you had a very fancy corporate career. You are one of those first CEOs, women CEOs in the country, where there's hardly any women who was even going to offices or corporate jobs. You were a CEO there, and you had such a fancy career in corporate field. Quitting all of that after 26 years and saying, no, I'm not going to do any of this, but I'm going to live for these kids in the slums. What's this switch all about?
Well, it begins from my childhood.
Tell me a little bit about your childhood. Where were you born, your parents, and all of that?
My childhood was in Darjeeling, pristine Darjeeling, in the Himalayas. So I've been fairly close to nature, and that has helped me a lot. Myself come from a very modest home where we didn't have too much of wealth, but we had this great passion and desire for education. And I think that has got embedded in me. I managed to go to really good schools and colleges, not because my father could afford it. He was a government official and couldn't have afforded me going to some of the elite schools and colleges I went to. I did it because I got scholarships there. So it was very interesting while I was growing up with kids who came from very affluent homes that had a huge wardrobe and could buy whatever they wanted. I came from a modest means and therefore couldn't afford some of the things that they would flash around. But I earned their respect because of my proficiency in education. So I did well, and I began to realize how important education was.
Absolutely.
It was then that I began to realize that education is the best levelizer. It doesn't matter where you come from. If you really do achieve in academics or any particular skill, then you earn the respect from people around you. So that's why education has been very important for me. But while I was a student, did my master's, my business management, I had got this great opportunity to volunteer with Mother Teresa.
Wow, that's one of the highlights of your career.
Yes, I would say that. I would say when people ask me, you've been in the industry for so long, who has been your best CEO? I would say Mother Teresa. Everybody would get shocked. I mean, why Mother Teresa? She's into social service. But who can inspire thousands and thousands of people with no remuneration? They all flocked to volunteer with her. I was one such volunteer. I was different from others, again, because I was diligent and I was regular. If I told mother that I would be with her to do a program, I would make sure I would do that. So she began to depend on me, and I learned a lot in the process. I learned what true
Being
compassion
beside
is.
Mother Teresa for, I think, 6 long years,
Seven
years.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
it could be a life-changing lessons that you
I
have learned.
think it was because
Could you please share some of those with us? Like, what were those moments that you've shared with Mother Teresa?
for instance, I worked with Mother Teresa for her program called Nirmal Hriday. Nirmal Hriday was a program where we would pick up destitutes, abandoned destitutes from the streets, beggars or aged people that the family have given up on and just leave behind. We had kind of a helpline, and when we would hear that, oh no, there is somebody lying in this street, we would go and pick that individual. Invariably, we would get to know at a very last stage, but we would still bring that individual to the center. And I have seen Mother Teresa nurse that person with such love and care. It's unbelievable. A stranger, don't know, dirty, ill, she couldn't care. She would nurse that person with so much of love and care, and sing and pray and clean the wounds and pick up the maggots one by one. She would say, I see Jesus in all these individuals. I'm not religious, but I will never forget the bliss I would see in her face after taking care of a patient. So I have many experiences with her.
One such unforgettable experience with Mother Teresa.
Do you see this mole in my nose, right? It's a
Yes.
fairly ugly mole. Okay.
It isn't.
Thank you so much. But I remember when I was in college, I suppose I had just started going around meeting boys, and somebody must have made a comment that I would look better without the mole. So I decided that I would sort of, just nick it off. It was a simple thing, right? Just a small little surgery. So the doctor gave me a date. I went to Mother Teresa. It clashed with my volunteering date. So I went to Mother Teresa and I said, Mother, I can't come this Saturday because, and she said, why? So I said, because I have to go to a doctor. And then she said, why? What for? Are you ill? So I said, no, I just want to take this mole out. Then she looked at me and she said, why? It's a gift from God. Why do you want to tamper with it? And I said, how much are you going to spend on this surgery? I can't remember how much, but I gave the amount that the doctor had quoted. She said, you write a check in the name of missionaries of charity right now. This would be worth that money, not cutting off your mole. So I have sported this mole now for 3-4 decades, and I do it with great pride because I know there's a little story behind it, yeah.
But apart from all these fictional things, to become a women leader in this progressive world today.
Why do you call it fictional?
No, when we're talking about passion and everything, this is mandate thing, ma'am. Like, it's compulsory, it has to be there. But I want to understand from you, who's done 26 years of corporate job, led the country across the globe. What are those actual skills, like the leadership skills that a woman needs today to kind of do something exceptional for their life?
The skills are, again, very simple. You need to know your job very well. That should be unquestionable.
How can that happen? Like,
study, observe people, find role models that you observe. Look at how they respond to situations, right? And read a lot. We have stopped reading. Yes. In fact, I have to confess that I read half of what I would read before. I was a voracious reader before, and I think that's really helped me because I could have a lot of reference points.
Yes, true.
Okay, and set small goals for yourself. Goal setting is very important. Everybody looks for recognition. I think what you're doing is very, very nice, Spoorthi, where you are, digging and unearthing women who may not have had the opportunity to express themselves. I congratulate you for that.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
My question, yes, ma'am, you please continue.
So but really, whether you are recognized or not, if you really like your work, you will do it.
True.
You don't have to get an applause from outside. Tell yourself, that was fantastic job that I did today. That's what is required, right? So don't go for recognition from outside. To be very honest, the reason why I accept these kind of invitations to be interviewed is because, not to promote myself, but I want people to know what we're doing in Parikrama.
Yes, it's
I want
important.
people to know, and that's where communicate is very important. Communicating what Parikrama is doing, because a lot of people don't know, and that our kids are doing so well that it is possible, these kids from the slums, to integrate with mainstream and be actually better than many of us. I want them to be opinion leaders. I want them to lead the country, and it is possible.
Amazing.
Few
What's
years.
that Parikrama does differently from other schools? And Parikrama is English medium. You
Yes.
adopted the English medium for a generation or kids who never went to schools.
Yeah.
Was it difficult to initiate this?
I had a lot of resistance, not from children, not from their parents at all, because they were delighted that they were getting this opportunity. I had resistance from corporates. I had resistance from donors. I had resistance from academia, actually. Why are you wasting time? These kids will find it very difficult, and that is not so. And I'm so happy that I proved them wrong, because I have kids going, representing the country in global youth leadership summits in San Diego, go to Duke University, and nobody can make out the background that they come from. My kids speak fluent English. They think in Kannada, but they speak fluent English and correct English. Yes, English is very important. The reason for it is, but I would tell you, my kids are better in Kannada than some Kannada medium schools. So it's not one language over the other. Whatever you do, you learn. Whatever you learn well. And that's the environment that we create in Parikrama. So you ask me, what is special about Parikrama? I would say it's just the environment where we encourage children to learn. It's a very sensitive school. So, children come with great amount of trauma. They come from abusive families, alcoholic families. In our school, they are never numbers. They're individuals. And we pay attention to every single individual in a class. Could be a 5-year-old or could be a 15-year-old. We know them by their names, we know their families, we know what kind of emotional turmoil they are going through, and we try and address that. I have psychologists in each of my schools who sit and counsel these kids and help them. We've been able to bring down the suicide rate in the slums purely because we have given these kids and their families something to look forward to. When you have something to look forward to, you don't need to, there's the sense of despair is minimized. So that is something that is very, very special.
What are those 3 changes, if you have to specify that, yes, these are the changes which is really important in the education sector?
We have to change our attitude towards education and change our attitude towards children. We have to change that. First of all, move away from driving grades and, that rat race that we get our kids involved in, exams. We are allowing examinations to define a child, and that is severely wrong. So we need to move away from this rigor that we have created, that kids have to sit for exams and do well. Rigor to do whatever they are learning well is very important. But learning only to sit for an exam is not important at all.
Correct.
Okay, so that has to change. We have to create different kinds of assessment of children. Second, I think we need to become more child friendly in schools. We need to, the kids, like, during lunch break, and my office is full of children. They all come in to hug me and sit there and sit on my table, sit on my chair, because it's a child-friendly place. Can you imagine in a private school or even in a government school, children sitting around with the principal of the school? Right, it's unheard of. You're scared. We have to remove the fear from schools. And we have to be child-friendly. We have to live joyfully. Children love to express themselves. We mustn't curb them. Okay, so this whole approach has to be different. And third is, we have very low expectations from children coming from marginalized homes. We have to remove that.
Right.
We have to expect a lot from them. And if we expect a lot from them and give them a way forward, they will do well.
That's a brilliant point. Any suggestion for how these, because a lot of parents are seeing this. There's a lot of comparison happening. There's a lot of pressure that is happening. There's a lot of you have to get these grades. You have to be on the top. It comes from a concerned mother here who's got a 6-year-old daughter. I end up saying, my daughter, no, you do whatever you want to do. You choose what you want to choose.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem in India is twofold. One is, in privileged homes, we model our children too much. We have very high expectations to show society to outside world, and we put that kind of pressure on children, actually cripple them. Children must be independent. In a country with 1.4 billion people, why is India very low at the innovation list? Not much of innovations are coming out of our country. And yet we are such creative people. What is happening is, I think schools are killing that creativity. Where generally, if you leave a child, the child is very, very creative. And you foster the child and allow the child to express. Like you come to my office one day and you will see I have children's self-portraits around behind my office. Okay, I think that's the best interior design I could get, where my children have gifted me their self-portraits. And I have kids with purple faces, orange hair. And when I have visitors, they ask me, what kind of a self-portrait is that? I said, that's the way the child sees himself. Just let him be. We have to let children be. We don't do that. On the other spectrum, in homes that are dysfunctional, marginalized, deprived, they don't have time for their children. Okay, so it's the two different spectrums. One is so much time that it gets toxic, and the other is total neglect. So we have to find a middle path.
That's a very nice way of comparison. Today, education is pride for parents. They compete with the fees. My child is studying in a school where I pay 2.5 lakhs for UKG. There is another parent who comes and says, I pay 8 lakhs for first standard. And there is a sense of pride in parents when it comes to fees. But my question to you is, what is the real thing a parent should see when choosing a school?
They should see the ethos of the school. How comprehensive is the education system? How inclusive is it? Rather than what fees they pay. I think all those guys who think they're sending their children to the good schools because they pay more are nothing but fools. The fees don't make the school. The building doesn't make the school. They should interact with the teachers. The teachers are very important. How many parents actually interview teachers?
You're not allowed to.
But I mean, I think that's where we have to break the boundaries, right? Because why should a little child be interviewed by the school to get admission? I think if you want me as a parent, I should have the right to interview teachers as well, in a conversation. But I need to know. But then, who are the parents who are interviewing? Standards of success are sometimes so myopic. Success is not because of what you can acquire. Success is also how do you contribute to the world. It's like, a lot of people think that, when the cars that they have, the houses that they have, farmhouses, the international holidays that is success. I tell my students, because I think it's very important my students to earn well so that they can pay off the loans of their parents. It's a totally different equation over there. And I say, yes, money is very important. But also look at the organizations that really take care of you when you're ill, take care of you when you have an emergency. What are those policies, HR policies in the organization? Those are also very important, and not just the salary. I'm beginning to slowly fine-tune expectations of my students when they go out to work. Now, parents, they must also say, yes, my kid must earn well and do well. But what is the do well factor? It's not just look well, but what is the do well factor? They must really, what could be their contribution to the next generation? It's not contributing money. It's contributing knowledge, contributing time, contributing energy. I think teachers, professors, lecturers, scientists, they earn sometimes less than an IT entrepreneur or a corporate mogul, but their contribution is tremendous.
So, ma'am, now that we've spoken so much about education, your career, and then a lot more things, I have a few personal life questions, because it's difficult to become an achiever, and it is a lot more difficult to become a woman achiever. So, some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
So, ma'am, tell us about you were born in Darjeeling, did all your schooling, and then was it a love marriage or an arranged marriage?
Oh, very much a love marriage.
Very much a love marriage, okay.
I mean, those days there were not many. I mean, definitely not in my family. I was the first one, yeah. I met my husband and decided that he's the person that I want to get married to, and nobody could stop me. There was not such happy reception to the idea from my family. But I said, listen, I mean, if you really love me, you have to stand by me. And that's what they have done, and they have no regrets, and I definitely don't have regrets.
Amazing. How about your children?
I've been married for 47 years, by the way.
47 years. Happily married for 47 years.
Well, I wouldn't say blissfully happily, but that's life. Yeah, so we are very good companions and friends. Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. What does sir do?
He began as from the teaching profession, but then he was in corporate. He's a leadership coach. He teaches at IIM Udaipur.
Okay.
He's an adjunct professor there, and he consults many organizations to develop their leadership base. He also has started a psychotherapeutic unit where He is available to take care of mental health of people. He studied further. Yeah, so.
Amazing. So, what role has Sir played in your journey towards service?
I think the most important role that he has played is being there and supportive. He's never said no to any of my crazy ideas. He's always said, yeah, I think it can be done. And I think that has been enormous, yeah.
How about your children?
I have one daughter. I think I must have influenced her, or the environment must have influenced her, because she is an environmentalist. She did her PhD from Cambridge and started her own biodiversity coffee unit where she works with tribal people, tribal women particularly, and helps them to grow coffee in a biodiversity friendly way. She buys the coffee, she sells it. She's a National Geographic scholar. Yeah, she's taken that pathway
Nice.
of moving away from making money, but actually investing in people so that they can make money. After that. Than before.
There's a point that where did we tip in, and
Yeah.
then there's a point where we're like, no, nowhere, we're going back there again.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Money plays a very important role to be there and do it. What's your suggestion? What are those things that a person should, or an organization like a trust or a foundation should make sure and ensure that this is on right place and this is in the right place, so that they also get certain kind of funding and the support that they require to do the work that they intend to do?
Look, I don't want you to think my funding issues are resolved. It isn't. Because as we grow, as we support more children, as more and more of my children do well and go to college, I have to pay the college fees.
Yes.
The more successful you are in driving ambition of others, you have to stand by them and see. So my funding situation is always dismally low, because
Even now you face that after 20 years.
Of course, it's really so. I have to really knock on doors, and I would have to say that to anyone who's starting, start something with that purpose, that you will have to keep asking people to support you. You have to have a good story. What I do have is many success stories which convinces people that we are doing the right thing. That is the only difference. But with every success story, I'm germinating more desires for success, right? And more, like earlier, so many children wouldn't want to go to college. Now 99% of my kids want to go to college. So I have to support them. And therefore, generating funds for college fees is a big issue today, because and they're going for professional colleges. They're going, for engineering, medicine, and these are not cheap. We try and get subsidies, but subsidies is how much? 10% reduction, 5% reduction, not more than that. So we have to really keep generating funds. So any new social entrepreneur or anybody wanting to start an NGO, they have to come with that resolve that they will have to continue to beg for money all the lives. Okay? I mean, unless, of course, I keep praying that somebody will, in his will write off their billions to Parikrama, but I know it's wishful thinking. It'll never happen.
It may. It may.
Oh gosh,
Someone
hope.
who's watching this video may even.
But all I can say to anybody who's inclined to give, that please give, because we can do a lot with your money.
Yes.
We can change lives with that money.
And how you can donate and how you can involve in this amazing cause and contribute to the cause, we would have put in a link in the description. Please reach out to ma'am, and whatever best you can do for this cause, which is so amazing, changing this cause can change the country as a whole. So it's not just contributing to the child, it's contributing to the country and the betterment of the country. So there's a link in the description. Please do get in touch. And yes, ma'am. So that also brings me to last few questions, like what are the mistakes that a new trust or a foundation shouldn't be doing?
They should not skirt with the law. They must get all their paperwork done and be absolutely above board, totally transparent and clean. I mean, that's absolutely necessary because you are running your operations with other people's money. You're accountable for that. And you have to be totally transparent with how you use the money. I think that because we are so clean and transparent and we are able to get as many audits done from the donor side, from our side, I think that gives certain sense of comfort to the donor, because obviously whoever is giving money, whatever the money amount may be, would want to see results with that money. Okay, so any new NGO must make sure that they do not try and, we have this tendency to cover up. They mustn't do that with running an NGO. It has to be totally squeaky clean. Second, so it's very important to have a right team being with you, supporting you, and you supporting them. I mean, you have to get, that's one of the lessons I learned.
Okay, that was a very interesting conversation that I had. And when talking to you, I realized few things that, when you are determined to do something and when you know really what you want to do and you're very clear about it and you've made that decision, you do it hook or crook. You just make it happen whatsoever it is. I mean, going to slums, knocking doors, from a high-paying corporate job to completely shifting that focus towards bringing a difference and, bringing those kids to a two-floor store, space in a slum. And starting with just one roof where it starts in July and, all of you run into that shade just to get away from the rain. And then from there to 4 schools, a college in a city like Bangalore, to building that difference. I think this has been an incredible journey, and hats off to you, ma'am. I mean, very, very, very happy to be sharing this space with you. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you feeling?
Oh, it was lovely talking to you. Thank you for asking questions that sort of provoked some bit of nostalgia. Some of the past you sort of forget because you get so busy. But thank you so much for taking me to the early days, and I'd say, yes, it has been an incredible journey. I'm very, very fortunate to have friends and team members that have been with me. And thank you for giving us this exposure. Thank
Beautiful, ma'am. So my last question, please share with us 3 major milestones that you look back to with all of this perseverance and passion.
One milestone was when my one student got through the CLAT exam and got into National Law School. That was a huge milestone for us. The other milestone was when I got invited to the prison award ceremony, and I found very hardened criminal who happened to be a father of one of my children, because I have a school where many children whose parents are lifelong prisoners. I send these children to meet their parents on one Sunday a month, and they teach their parents. And this father, who had several criminal cases against him, murders and all, 6 murders, was getting the Best Prisoner Award. And he took that award and he said, I've done terrible things in my life. I have made many mistakes. I can't undo them, but I want to change because I want my son to respect me. And my son comes from Parikrama, and he teaches me how to be a better person. So that was a great milestone. Realized how even through children, 6, 7-year-old kids, you can change a society. Then another milestone was when my kids got selected to go to San Diego. I mean, we got their passports done, we got their air tickets done. I even accompanied them because I was worried that they would get lost, they would not know how to do transfers. But they were so confident and good. And I realized we're really bringing up our kids well. So these were some of my milestones, yeah.
Amazing. Not one of them were about you. It was all about your kids. That really speaks a lot about your journey, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us. And from you are a jewelry person, loves, used to love wearing jewelry, and today you are the most minimal. You really don't wear much of jewelry, but thank you so much for flaunting beautiful
this is
jewelry.
lovely. This is very, very pretty. You don't have to wear it to appreciate it. I mean, you have to recognize, acknowledge beauty and aesthetics, even from a distance. But I really loved wearing this.
I always say this because to do anything like this, it really needs the right kind of support. And Sri Krishna Chetty Group of Jewelers have been our biggest strength. And I love flaunting their jewelry in each and every episode of ours. So thank you so much for wearing the beautiful jewelry of Sri Krishna Chetty Group of Jewelers. And thank you so much for joining us. And what your final words for all those aspiring women achievers?
You have already arrived. Yeah, so just have confidence in yourself. Don't get browbeaten by people around you. Do what you want to do and do it really well. And you are far, far better than anybody else because you are better today than you were yesterday. And that is what you have to remember as you go through.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We spoke about education. We spoke about how to bring in a difference in the country. We spoke a lot about parenting. We did speak about how we can start our own foundation and run it successfully and mistakes to be avoided, and great personal stories about you. So it was a great conversation. I really enjoyed this show. Thank you so much for being with us, and thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Well, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode and it has added a lot of value to you. That's Real Celebrity Podcast brought to you by Sri Krishna Chetty Group of Jewelers. I'm going to see you with another extraordinary episode with another extraordinary women very soon. Stay tuned.